It's 6:31 p.m. November 5th, 2025. This is Chair Nagaji calling the meeting to order. Anson, please do a roll call to determine quorum.
Okay. When I call your name, please say here. Zane? Here. Watson? Mosel? Nagaji? Okay. Fukumoto? Lumen? Here. Okay. Lee? Bill Lee? Okay. It's not here. Joanne Koff? Joanne? Okay. Not here. Okay. Chong? Diane? Yep. Okay. She's here. Moylan? Okay. He's here. DeMarco? Here. Oh, he's here. Okay. Quano? Okay. She's not here. And Robert Fox?
Here.
Fox?
Here.
Oh, he's here. Okay. Okay. And Joseph Mishreki? Mishreki? Okay, he's not here. Okay, that's 1, 2. That's 10. We have quorum.
All right, thank you, Anson, for the roll call. First, real quick, this is our first return to in-person meeting, and I've been told that we need to listen to what the custodian and the custodial staff say if they want to, if they have any rules, and they're going to probably clear us out at 8:30. So we got to listen to all that since they are the ones hosting us. I also just want to begin real quick by thanking two of our area electeds, Representative Andrew Garrett. As I was saying, thank you, Representative Andrew Garrett, for getting us in touch with Principal Gustman of Noelani to make this arrangement happen. And I also want to thank Councilman Nishimoto for helping us to secure the funding to seal the deal. So thank you very much. All right, getting the agenda, let's go to item 2A, Honolulu Fire Department. HFD, please go ahead. HFD. Sorry, we may have had a Wi-Fi problem. Is HFD there? All right, let's just go to HP then. Honolulu Police Department. Lieutenant, please go ahead.
Hello, Lieutenant Taro Nakamura with HPD. These are stats for February as compared to the previous month. Let's see, motor vehicle thefts remained the same, 11 and 11. Burglaries were 5 as compared to 3. Thefts were 7 as compared to 14. And UEMVs was 1 as compared to 3. Total, this is out of a total calls of service of 5,746 for the district. Further statistical information can be found at honolulupd.org. And our safety tip for the month is just a reminder. Hawaii has a move over law. So if you ever see a police car or just importantly, a fire truck or an EMS rig or one of those tow wagons, the state tow wagons. If you see them on the freeway or on any public roadway and they're working, their lights are flashing, please move over. The main intent of this law is to prevent needless injuries, like we had on the freeway with the police officer who was killed. So it's just a friendly reminder that there's a move over law. So thank you very much for your time.
All right, do you have any questions or comments for, oh, please go ahead.
Yes, I had a question. Can you hear me?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Regarding the stabbing at Mānoa Marketplace, is there any update on culprit?
That kind of case is a felony case, and once a patrol makes the report, Any information can be, you can follow up by calling the Detectives Division. If you want to find out what happened to that case.
All right, any other comments or questions for the lieutenant? All right, seeing and hearing none. Thank you, Lieutenant. We're going to go back to fire department if they're on now. Is Honolulu Fire Department here?
Well,
All right, looks like the Honolulu Fire Department isn't with us tonight. So in that case, so the agenda says state monthly reports is next, but because we have member Ellen Watson here, I want to take one of our items out of order. That's item 6G, the 3 absences letter for member Ellen Watson. So basically, because member Watson was absent for 3 meetings this term, she's required to come in and explain why she missed them. And after that, I'm required to give board members the opportunity to make a motion to remove her. If no one makes a motion, then she'll remain on. So at this time, I'm going to pass the mic to member Watson to please.
Is it on? Yeah, it's on. I've been really sick. I have what the Pope has. If you've been following, the Pope is really sick. Only he gets better health care than I do. So I've been in the hospital 3 times in ICU. I can't breathe. I have a secondary bacterial infection to COVID and the flu. And that's why I missed, because breathing is important. And the last time I went there, I was taken by ambulance from my house. My oxygen sat's really low. And I probably shouldn't even be here. But that's why I've been absent, and I'd like to remain on the board. And then if I don't make it, then go ahead and declare my seat vacant.
Thank you, member Watson. And she and I talked a couple of days ago over the phone about the situation. That it was pretty serious. So at this time, I'm required to ask board members if anyone wants to make a motion to remove member Ellen Watson. If no one makes a motion, then she'll remain on the board. All right, we have no motions. Member Watson, congratulations on remaining on the board, and we wish you a speedy recovery. All right, getting back to our normal agenda schedule, we're going now to state monthly reports, starting with Senator Carol Fukunaga. Senator, please go ahead. Senator Carol Fukunaga.
Thank you, Board. I know you have a busy agenda, so my report is very brief. We just went through our 3rd reading bills yesterday, and in the Senate, we had a very strong focus on invasive species legislation as well as fireworks prevention. So I've covered a couple of the highlights on page 1. And on page 2, I started reading through the Mānoa Banyan Court FEA. I do have some concerns, but I am going to continue reviewing this and look forward to talking and learning more from neighbors. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
All right, and we will have a open forum to discuss legislation, make suggestions to area lawmakers later. But do we have any other questions or comments from members of the community or the senator? All right, I see no hands. Thank you, Senator Fukunaga. Please stay on if you can. We go now next to Representative Andrew Takuya Garrett. Please go ahead.
Good evening and aloha, everyone. Great to be back here in person to see all you folks in person. As Senator Fukunaga said, we are just about the halfway point at the legislature. First crossover, at which point the House bills go to the Senate, Senate bills come over to the House is officially tomorrow. Just yesterday, we had our own version of Vote-a-Rama, voted on 200 plus bills. I think in total, we're sending about 370, 380 to the Senate. And other news, the state budget did pass out of our House Finance Committee today. We're still waiting for the details to be posted, but I will be sure to include that in the newsletter going out to the district in the next week or 2. But I'll be candid, right now, the budget, we're kind of in a holding pattern because we're trying to figure out the impact of all the cuts we're looking at potentially from the federal government, also the impacts of the tariffs. This budget that was just passed today was based on the Council on Revenue's projections from a few months ago. I think they're going to meet in the next few days. I suspect they're going to put their projections downward quite a bit. So we'll have to make adjustments accordingly. So that being said, the House tends to be pretty conservative in the way we craft our budget. We're probably not going to fund a lot of new initiatives, just to be candid here, but we'll see. And there's also the possibility that we might not know the exact impact of all these federal cuts until after we adjourn in May. So we might have to come back this summer and make budgetary adjustments at that time. I know a lot of our friends from Palmwell Road and Hippobai community are here in the room, so I just wanted to pass along that House Bill 548 that I introduced that would give funding to the University of Hawaii to acquire that the old St. Francis School is moving. We did send that over to the Senate, and I know Senator Fukunaga will do everything she can to lobby her colleagues on that side of the chamber. The encouraging news, though, is we did get a placeholder put in our state budget, which is very encouraging because that's something we can negotiate with the Senate as we try to finalize the state budget. So, I did pass out my old newsletter, my winter newsletter. It's like reading yesterday's newspaper, but as I mentioned, we will have a new one coming out, the spring version, in a few weeks. So with that, I'll stop and see if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Do we have any committee members with questions or comments for the representative? All right, I see no raised hands. Thank you, Representative Garrett. Please stay on if you can.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
And we're going to go to our next. We're going to go to our next University of Hawaii Manoa updates with Elmer Ka'ai.
Hello, Chair, board members. Nice to finally see you guys. I don't have a big report that last month I provided you with a really big update of what was going on campus. All I can tell you is we have enough spring break in about 2 weeks, so it'll be less traffic around this area for, and outside of that, we are just, waiting to figure out what's going to happen at the federal level, because we are a Research One institution. So we do have a lot of funding that are in and out of any kind of decisions that would happen later. But outside of that, Chair, I'm here for questions.
All right, thank you, Elmer. Member Chong.
I have a question. I heard that on Friday, this past Friday, you had a baseball game and a basketball game or something like that on Friday, and they were half an hour apart from each other. And so there was a lot of traffic on the freeway.
Yes.
Some people couldn't even get there. They even turned around and went home. Is there some way of having maybe, having a bigger time gap between the beginning of one game to another game?
Mhm.
So then you don't have this, because it was Friday. That's also a reason why. Friday is a very busy day. You can't get, freeway is just jam packed. But to see, have two games start just 30 minutes from each other, it made a more impact on the freeway.
I'll take it back.
Can you see if that can be
Okay,
adjusted?
sure.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Member Moylan, please go ahead.
Hi, thanks. About how many students are on campus during the day when classes are running?
Quite honestly, I would think of our 18,000 to 20,000 per day, 8,000 maybe.
So maybe 8,000, okay.
Yeah.
How many parking spaces are there on that campus?
Oh God. Well, we don't have enough for all 8,000 or if all 18,000. We do have about 3,000 parking spaces that are available for students, and an additional parking for staff. But we
Staff.
do have a lot of other paid parking now that's on campus.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
All right, thank you, Elmer. We're going to move on for time now, just
Okay.
because we're down to a 2-hour meeting now. Thank you for the report.
Thank you.
Going next to item D, Governor Josh Green's representative Lacey Goshi. Is Lacey here? All right. Governor's representative doesn't seem to be here with us tonight, so we're just going to go forward to E, Congressman Ed Case's representative. Does the congressman have a representative for us tonight? All right, no one for that either. So now we're going to Roman numeral 4, city monthly report, starting with A, Board of Water Supply, Dominic Diaz. Is Dominic Diaz here?
Yes, I'm online. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. All right. I'll make this quick. So there were no main breaks in the month of February. Currently, we don't have any construction in the valley, although there was previous interest in our waterline project in Makiki. So I just wanted to report that the Kalawahine waterline project is about 30% complete. They're currently working along Pensacola above Wilder. So if you sort of use that corridor, you might run into some construction there near Roosevelt School. No water announcement this month, although we do want to point out that we have a lot of openings, like a lot of government agencies, state and city agencies. We have a lot of openings in engineering, IT, customer care, administrative roles. Anybody interested, we're encouraging you to take a look. Our website, boardofwatersupply.com/jobs. You can see all the active postings there. You can also call 748-5160 to ask about potential job opportunities. And that said, I'd be happy to take any questions on behalf of the Board of Water Supply at this time.
All right, any questions or comments for Dominic? All right, not seeing any. So we're going now to Mira Blangiardi's office. I haven't been, I think they still haven't given us a replacement for Kim. Oh, please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, neighborhood board members. My name's Gavin Thornton. I'm brand new to the city, Deputy Director at the Office of Economic Revitalization. Grateful for this opportunity to meet everybody here. I just have a few highlights from the mayor's most recent newsletter to share. On the homelessness front, just wanted to share that we have a new Director of Homelessness Solutions, Roy Miyahira. Also, innovative new homelessness-focused transitional shelter. It's for folks with history of mental illness, memory or brain injury challenges, a partnership with the Brain Health Applied Research Institute. I've heard that neuroscientists from around the country are interested in this innovative project. And then lastly, just wanted to flag that FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management folks, have released a new flood map for insurance purposes. And if folks want to take a look at that, it may expand the areas that require flood insurance. So there's a public comment period that's opens up in March 13th and I think closes in June. So thank you.
All right, thank you. And do we have any questions or comments for the John?
Can you tell us where that FEMA report is?
I have a QR code here. I don't know if there's an easy way to share that with folks, if I could follow up.
Could you send it to Anson and he can like disperse it by email to the board members?
Perfect.
That'll work. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for the mayor's office? Please go ahead.
So it was reported in the news today that the Supreme Court had ruled in favor of San Francisco with regards to a suit that they had against the EPA on the stringent ruling they had to face for their wastewater. And so my question is, does that affect the city? You know how you've been going around and doing the town halls, including in Mānoa, about the sewage rate increases that are due. Well, I know my understanding is that's as a result of the EPA suit that Honolulu lost, in its wastewater rulings, right, for offshore disposal of wastewater. So I'm wondering, my question is, does that affect us in a positive way, Honolulu, as a result of that San Francisco ruling?
Thank you for the question. I'm afraid I do not have expertise in that area, but I'd be happy to look into it.
All right, any other questions or comments for the mayor's office? All right, I see no more raised hands. Thank you for your report, and we're going to go ahead to our next item, which is item C, City Council Member Scott Nishimoto. Councilman, please go ahead.
Sorry. Good evening, board and community members. Scott Nishimoto. It's good to see all of you in person. Wonderful to be in the same room. My report is very brief. I encourage all of you to sign up for my e-blast. We send it every couple weeks. We sent one out today. My staffer Heath will put. We've established that I have 2 cats, and the dog is curious because I have 2 cats at home and smells the cats on me.
Thank you.
But I encourage you to sign up for my e-blast. My staffer Heath is going to put the link in the chat. And also, if you want to sign up, just email me at scott.nishimoto@honolulu.gov. We'll sign you up for our e-blast every couple of weeks, sending information to the community. So I encourage you to do that. Just one announcement. This weekend, we will be holding our 16th annual tax preparation clinic. It's free. You do need to sign up, get an appointment, and meet some income level restrictions, but it's a chance for tax professionals to prepare your taxes for free. We're doing it this Saturday at the Hawaii State Library. So if you have any questions, I guess we take it in a separate time, right, Chair? Questions now or in a separate time?
We can do questions now.
Okay. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Member Fox, there's a raised hand. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Scott. Congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
Very happy. I am really disturbed that the head of homeless services quit, I think, in relationship to the extraordinary cost of homeless housing and its production. I know this is under the mayor's auspices, but I think it's important for us to have the city council really do an investigation here. Why is it costing so much for homeless housing and services? Something's wrong here. I've been a real estate developer for 40 some years. And even though I understand public funding is difficult and all that kind of stuff, we got grants. And for some reason, we're not applying the grant money very effectively. And I want to know why it is that even the head of the services resigned because of this.
Yeah, no, it's a little hard to hear, but I think I understand the question. I agree completely. I think you're talking about the article that was in I think the paper or
yes,
some media outlet. $8,000 per month for some of the kahales. I agree.
We didn't even apply
look
for the
into
funding.
it.
I mean, I think what they were referring to was we didn't even on time apply for the funding for the utilities, for the gas, for the water. What's going on here that we're so disorganized?
I hear you. I hear you. I'll have my office look into it, and we'll give you a report next month, Robert.
I hope you bring this to the mayor's office. That's what the city council is supposed to do, is guide the mayor.
Yes, co-equal branch of government.
There you go.
All right, thank you, Member Fox. We're going to go to the fire department in just a minute, but first, do we have any other questions or comments for the councilman? All right, thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Please stick around if you can. And the Honolulu Fire Department has joined us, so at this time, I'll call them up to report if they'd like to do so.
Sorry about that. It's good to be back. Live, see all you guys. We got all new firefighters, Lane Chiroma, Chase Carrero, and Scotty Akma, all living in the Mānoa community. So I'll just go with the statistics real quick. We had 1 structure fire, 1 nuisance, 1 activated alarm. We had 40 medicals, 1 motor vehicle collision versus pedestrian, 2 motor vehicle collisions. And our fire safety tip of the month is smoke alarms. They are crucial for saving lives and play a key role in a home fire escape plan. When installed properly and maintained correctly, they provide early alerts, give occupants a chance to evacuate quickly. So install smoke alarms in every bedroom, outside each separate sleeping area, and on each level of the home. Test smoke alarms at least once a month by pushing the test button, and replace smoke alarms when they are 10 years old or stop responding when tested. And also another good tip is if you have young kids, have a meeting place on the outside. We were talking to the kids this morning and we asked, what do you do when there's a fire? And they said, hide. I said, no, 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 no. So go over your kids, make sure you guys have a nice meeting place outside, then they can call 911. You guys have any questions for us?
Any questions or comments for the fire department? All right, I see no hands, so we're going to move forward.
All right.
Thank you, and we'll see you again next month. So, sorry, there's a dog running around here. Okay, anyway, so going now to room numeral 5, returning business, we have decisions from the City Department of Planning and Permitting, and we have both Manoa Banning Court and the Aria Lane project. So I'll just ask real quick, do we have any official representatives from the developers, from Leica, from Avalon, or any affiliated groups? Do we have anyone from the developers to speak on this? All right, I guess you don't have any, so we have a couple presentations from community members. The first one is on Banning Court, and it's going to be from Seth Kawamoto. So Seth, please come on in and do your presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, okay, good. The slides are up. So, yeah, so the 23rd of February, DPP issued a FONSI for the Manoa Banyan Court project. It's a finding of no significant impact. It allows them to move beyond the environmental assessment process. This QR, thank you. This QR code will link to this slide. So if you're following, yep, next slide. Yeah, so the DPP issued the essentially the determination, and this is sort of what they wrote in the determination letter, and it's kind of a wall of text here, but the point is that they're almost skirting. They're saying there's not a significant impact according to the document, and that the questions were acknowledged. So there's over 1,400 pages of public comments, and each one was either binned or acknowledged to say like, oh, we received it, and it's not a big deal. So they're saying essentially they went through the process of the environmental assessment and they're issuing this FONSI. Next slide. Is this? Yeah. So essentially, is this the next slide? Wait, sorry, should I go up one? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so it's kind of what I was saying before. They accepted the FONSI just at face value. So in this case, the applicant writes the report, and it was supposedly up to DPP to kind of verify it, but they kind of just went along with the FONSI. Despite, again, over 180 public comments covering over 1,400 pages, broad concerns from flooding, traffic, loss of green space. And even despite the DPP's, their own comments in the DEA, where they asked for specific things in the final EA that just really wasn't, it was acknowledged, but wasn't truly addressed. The use of Lower Road, they haven't disclosed if it is or is not used. And they were supposed to analyze the intersections of East Manoa, Polualu, and East Manoa, Oahu Ave, but there was really no additional discussion. And there are actually some major changes between the draft EA and the final EA. So they actually removed one of the parking lots. So one of the things that they claimed to, based on our feedback, to provide more parking, that was part of the DEA when they submitted, but they, I guess, reneged and took away some parking. And they actually added these sewage tanks. They're like sewage detention tanks. So they're planning 15,000 gallon tanks, one per unit or per building. So up to 60,000 gallons of sewage going to be stored in these potentially either above ground or underground tanks. It was supposed to be a mitigating factor because the sewage, their updated sewer permit didn't approve the without additional mitigation. So it was presented as a mitigating factor, but there was no discussion of potential, risks or even how viable it would be. Oh yeah, so just the timeline, what's next? So submitting back on the 23rd, there's a 30-day judicial challenge period. So lawsuits could be filed against the determination in 30 days. After that, well, Leica can now complete the 218 application, submit to DPP. They would have 90 days to look it over. And DPP will transmit a resolution to the city council. And the city council will only have 45 days at that point to act on this resolution, to either approve it with modifications, or to deny. If they don't do anything, it'll automatically be approved. And for this, they're going to go for LIHTC funding. I mean, that was their plan, low income housing tax credits through HHFDC. So if they get approved through the city council, that would be the next stage where the project would go to compete for funding. So in bold there, that's the next time really the public really has an open opportunity to, again, there's hearings to voice their opinions. This would be when it gets to the city council. Last slide. So this is just, to stay informed. So there's an email there. Hopefully you guys can get through the links or whatever. If you want to kind of get on the information list, we also have a next door group. So that's another way to kind of, I guess, maybe stay informed. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Seth. Two quick things. I was asked to clarify that he's not a representative of Leica or the developer. So in case it wasn't clear, he's a private citizen. He's not representing Leica or any of their affiliates with that presentation or anything. So we're going to go to the Aria Lane presentation next. But before we go to the Aria Lane presentation, that topic, since Seth just gave the NBC presentation, I want to give people a chance to make comments or questions of Seth or Mānoa Banning Court in general. So does anyone have any questions or comments? Oh, Fox has raised hand. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Can you hear me? I'm trying to speak as loudly as
Yes.
possible.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I have been following this a little bit, but I'm really stunned about this sewage storage, quote unquote, mitigation technique. You would think after Red Hill that we've had enough storage tank problems in the state of Hawaii. And what are they going to be making these storage tanks out of if not metal? And for how long does the metal last? Is there some new technology that I'm completely unfamiliar with as a contractor to make those things leak proof? We're talking about an extraordinary amount of sewage predicted out of these units. And I do not see that as a mitigating factor. I see that as a huge risk to our community and to our groundwater. I think we need to do something about that. I'm not sure what the neighborhood board can do, but that disturbs me greatly. Also, I have to remind everybody that developers are really shrewd. They get their development plans approved. Our DPP has been a mess for years. We know that. Hopefully they're getting better. But generally speaking, after they get their approval, 18 months later, they go in there and say, oh, well, we're not going to do those kind of apartments. We're going to do condominiums instead. So this bellwether that everything is affordable housing, for the most part, has turned out to be a very false presumption in the long run. I'm disturbed about this project and have been for quite some time. I hope that we have some neighborhood pushback. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Member Fox. Do we have any other comment or question on Mānoa Banning Court generally or Seth President? Oh.
Good evening, board, people online. Continuing on with Mr. Fox's comment about the surprise about the sewage tanks. Yeah, and it does seem that these were, by anyone's estimation, buried within their final EA beyond very much at the bottom, the very last appendix. And it above there, if you look up in the appendix, you see that Board of Water and Department of Land and Natural Resources did review their previous EA back in 2021, but these sewer changes were made in 2024, including their new updated sewer application. So the sewer application is new, along with those like sewage containing sausage tanks. So I don't think it's a good thing, and we should question that and as a community stand together against it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jolyn. And do we have any other questions or comments regarding NBC or its test presentation? Going once? Oh,
You have another raised hand, Chair.
Laura Ruby, please go ahead.
Yes. I would like to know why the DPP said that the sewer tanks were there was the plan to go ahead, because there should be this hookup to the regular sewer system. So why did they give that as a viable alternative? I think there's a lot of problems with a tank, especially when it's uphill from where I live, downhill. Did you find out any, did they make any definitive comment as to why it had to be the tanks rather than a regular hookup to the sewage system?
Oh, hey, Laura. So this is Seth. I'm going to try to field that. So their original sewer permit for the DEA, which is they had a full approval for 288, like just no questions asked. During that window, because there's a 2-year iteration to the FEA, they had to renew the sewer permit. And when they did that, they didn't get like a green light, 288 units of attachable sewer. So it was this caveated thing where if they provided this mitigation, in the discussion, they said they could be temporary. According to their story, Mānoa is slated for sewer improvements in the 2030 timeframe. So I mean, if you believe that, right, like building stuff in Hawaii, if you believe it'll be done by 2030, then I guess they could, I guess, remove them is what their story is. And the trick is they put it as a mitigating factor. So you don't, it's kind of a game, right, where you're saying that this is helping. So you don't have to go back. There's no discussion about what the potential risk of their mitigating factor is, because they're placing it as like something to fix something.
Oh, Member Boylan, please go ahead.
Can I clarify something on that? The proposed tanks are not instead of being hooked up to the sewer system, right? It's presumably to deal with a case where it's a commercial in the Super Bowl and every one of those units goes and flushes their toilet at the exact same time. Then there's this massive surge. And so that's what the tanks would be there to mitigate.
I'm actually glad you said that's a great segue. So they disclosed that during heavy rains, it's known that Manoa's sewer overflows currently. And we saw it happened just this January. So this would be to account, I guess. So yeah, so it's not that everyone's gonna invite, people to Super Bowl. They're thinking if there's a heavy storm event, then they could somehow use this, as like a buffer. The tank is a buffer, but the calculations, that's a 1 day. So 15,000 gallons per building is the 1 day projection. So that's how much the tank is spec to hold. Drainage assessment, drainage thing is 10-year storm. So this whole project is predicated on protecting us from a 10-year storm-wise, and 1 day of having to hold back the sewage.
Right. So something, wastewater would not go into the tank and stay there forever like a septic field. It's there to hold a surge and then release it into the sewer. So it's not instead of the sewer, it's in addition, right? Okay, thank you.
All right, I see raised hand from Laura, but first, do we have any other, oh, please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Roger Babcock. I'm Director of Department of Environmental Services. We do run the sewer system. So as was explained, I'm sorry I missed the earlier presentation. As was indicated, several years ago when the project was first proposed, there was adequate sewer capacity for the project. However, when you apply for a sewer application, you have to start construction within 2 years. Otherwise, it expires. Otherwise, you could just bottle up sewer capacity forever. That doesn't work for us. So a solution was, so then when it was reapplied, it was denied. And that's because there are system limitations downstream, as has been described. And as you know, every once in a while, there's a spill. The system limitations are during actual and modeled storms. So we have a computer model of the system that simulates storm flows for rainfall events. And the downstream area of the project does not meet our current 5-year level of service requirements. So it was denied. The project's engineers came forward with a potential solution that we evaluated and ultimately accepted. So to be clear, the way it works is there's still a sewer connection, as was noted. During all times, sewer flow into the sewer. There is no capacity issue when it's not raining, which is most of the time. And there's no capacity issue unless you have a pretty big storm. So it's important to note that the tanks are never used. They're going to be dry all the time unless there's a storm. And during a storm, they will capture their own flow, just one day of regular flow. There's no storm flow coming from the project. It's already in the sewer from everywhere else. So during that time, we said, no, you can't discharge because you'd be adding flow and making the problem worse. So you have to hold the flow for some period of time, and I don't think it's actually been agreed upon and how long that is, how 1 day or 2 days or whatever it is. And so that way, that will suffice. They have to have an operator to operate that. It has to be a control system. Somebody has to maintain it. And then that will suffice until we have our scheduled upgrade project for the downstream sewers, which we have planned and budgeted, but it does take time for projects, to happen. And so that is what's proposed. And we found that acceptable. Thanks.
Oh, sorry. I'm just going to do a couple more hands for Banning Court, and then because we're rationing time, so we're going to do a couple hands for Banning Court, then go to Aria Lane. So Member Bosel, then Tom Benedict, and then we're going to go to Aria Lane. Tom Benedict, please go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Can you come up here to the mic? It's not like for us, it's for people online as well and for the recording process.
Dr. Babcock, it's hard to hear. It's hard to hear in the back. I just want to ask a question very quickly. Did I hear you say that the working assumption is that it is? Is that what you said? What did you? I think you said that these tanks will be dry most of the time. There won't be overflow. Okay, could you explain that?
Yeah, sure.
So there's tanks that would only accept flow from the project when it's raining. But most of the time, the sewers are not overflowing. So it has to do with a 5-year storm. So it hasn't been determined exactly when the tanks under what circumstances the tanks would be used, how hard it would have to be raining. But the tanks are empty all the time, except for when it's determined that essentially there would be some notification given that flows have increased. We have flow meters and monitoring throughout the system. When flows become elevated, presumably they'd be given notice that they need to divert their flows and hold their flows on site for a certain period of time. Hopefully that makes sense.
Sure.
Can I ask one quick question of the gentleman?
Sorry,
hold on.
Laura, no, we don't have time.
Is this?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a very quick question. Just since this is your area of expertise, do you have any idea, a ballpark, what a system like this would cost to install and then also maintain? You said it would require having staff on hand ready to operate it at any given time that there would be a potential rain event?
That's correct.
On site.
Wouldn't necessarily have to be on site, but they'd have to have a contractor who would show up within a certain period of time.
A dedicated contractor. Do you have any idea of what a system like this would cost at this
I
scale?
don't. No.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna just move on to Arlene for now, and if there's time after we discussed Arlene, then we can circle back to Manoa Banning Court issues. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you for making time. I'll be real quick. I'm a resident of Lower Road, and as you all know, they were planning on putting a parking lot there. And just like the concerns for St. Francis, the traffic and the flow, it was very vague in the plan about how they were going to address. In some parts of the road, it is less than 15 feet wide. I don't see how you can possibly get the flow of traffic in and out on that road, nor on, it's very dangerous coming, it's a blind corner, turning left onto Lower Road. So I was concerned in the plan that the details on how they were going to mitigate that. I can't remember exactly how many stalls, but it was like 200 maybe to come in and out of that access. And there was no mention of it in there. And secondly, for Governor Josh Green's initiative to move housing, affordable housing for seniors, I think it's a great initiative, but I think this fast tracking that they're doing is opening up for potential damages to communities and our infrastructure and just a lack of poor planning. So I'm very concerned that some of the things that he mentioned are not being concerned, and I'm hoping that we can somehow work together to discuss more at a later time.
All right, thank you. So again, we'll circle back to Manoa Banning Court. People have more questions on that later, but for now, we're going to pivot to Aria Lane and the presentation on that from Ted Churchill. Ted,
Hi there,
go
I'm
ahead.
Ted Churchill. Excuse me a little loud. So we are Malama, St. Francis, Manoa. We are a group opposing Aria Lane. And most of my presentation is going to be what they're proposing, where we're at, and how we intend to fight it. So I have a clip from Frontline with Josh Green speaking.
To make much of the world a tourist economy and not spend more time on ecologic solutions. The world will have to ask itself that question: what's the priority? And if the priority is a more balanced economy with the environment, more people will be safe. So everyone should expect a slightly different.
Okay, we have the clip if anybody.
Hawaii.
Josh Green speaking on Lahaina fires knows the problem was the roads that were too small and allowed to develop decades ago has been for decades, and now we're paying the price. So let's keep that from happening here in Manoa. The latest news we have, the good news is Representative Andrew Garrett has presented a bill for the allocation of money for UH to purchase the property. If it comes to market again, that has just passed over to the Senate. The Hawaii Emergency Management Agency is interested in purchase of the property and proposed dollars in Governor Green's budget. We've had tremendous support from Senator Carol Fukunaga, Representative Andrew Garrett, and Councilman Scott Nishimoto. And we have done a good job in demanding safety and infrastructure and creating a record of the standards that DPP has ignored. The next for me, please, Anson. On the bad side, DPP has approved Aria Lane with very few conditions, many of which are not even considered until after occupancy. So an updated TIR not asked for until a year after occupancy, just kicking the bucket down the road until it's too late, until after it's built. We're looking at 158 housing units, which consist of 73 two-family units, 12 single-family units, and 381 parking spaces. Just way out of scale for the neighborhood. Starting at $2 million a piece, it's not affordable. It does not fit or benefit our community as going to UH or a state agency would, and it's putting us all at risk. In the DPP report, there was virtually no safety considerations that have been implemented or even mentioned in DPP's ruling. It putting the city negligent and again, putting us at risk. Even the applicant's traffic analysis states increased conflicts may occur between vehicular and pedestrian traffic utilizing Mānoa Road. You guys know what their traffic looks like? They're refusing to address the issue of sidewalks that their own engineers have insisted upon, and they've just ignored the recommendations of their traffic engineers and planners to push this development forward. So DPP is a politically pushed machine to approve all developments. So the current status is we don't have the deep pockets of developers, but we have crafted a cost-effective strategy. We have to file an appeal with the Zoning Board of Appeals within the next, by the 27th, I believe, of March. And we're working with a few lawyers to file that appeal. And we're getting ready to bring our case to circuit court, where we believe we have a strong and documented case, where we're looking to get on level playing field within the courts. It's not run by politicians and developers. So for the Mānoa community, if you'd like to help, we're going to be raising legal fees through GoFundMe or CME. And please let Governor Green and Mayor Blangiardi's office know that the development is a danger and DPP is putting all of us at risk. My phone number and our email address is listed here. And if anybody wants more specific facts or information, might be around after the meeting, please feel free to come and see us. We have all the reports that are printed from DPP and whatnot. So we're here for you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ted Churchill. Do we have any questions or comments regarding that presentation or regarding the Aria Lane in general?
I'm a resident of University Avenue across from Midpack, and the traffic is horrendous. And to have 400 or 500 cars coming down University Avenue and on Whole Street, it's ridiculous. Can't even get out of my driveway in the morning. I mean, I need to stop right there in my, so I can get out of into the road. It wasn't like that before. I've been a resident here for 66 years, and we never had this problem. Okay, let me make it sure. Okay, Aria Lane. Okay, it's been noted that Aria Lane is an ancient heiau. It's on the map. You haven't recognized it yet. I don't know why, but it's there. And Ellen Sophia has documented. So you're not supposed to build on sacred heiaus. And the whole St. Francis School is the heiau. There are walls built around the property that indicate ancient heiau. Okay, so culturally, no. You remember what happened to Hamilton Library? It got inundated from the flooding. That place is going to be inundated again. It's just a matter of time. So I'm warning you, do not allow this Aria Lane to be built. And even this Manoa Banyan, it's just going to increase the flooding. And then we're going to have a sewage problem. And then our water system is going to be polluted. And then we can't use the water. Okay.
Sorry, I see raised hand over there. Yeah.
Hi, aloha. I actually grew up in Mānoa and I attended Noelani school. My children attended Noelani school. My mother's home in Mānoa, there's 3 generations that live in her home. I no longer live in Mānoa, but I still feel a deep connection to this space. And so I did go to testify at the DPP meeting in opposition to this development on various levels, because even if it doesn't impact me, like parking and I know that traffic will be impacted, but that wasn't my focus of my testimony. It was more like St. Francis was named for this and in honor of Sister Saint Marianne Pope. And I think sometimes what happens when developers come in is that those stories are forgotten. There was a huge donation made by the patients. For the time, it was a large sum of money, but it's because they supported what this institution was going to be, which was an educational institution. And I think that's why I am also in support of the funding for it to go to the University of Hawaii, because I see that as something that's going to still stay within the community. After the DPP meeting, I did speak to someone from Avalon, and I asked if eventually it would be a gated community, and they said that once the development is built, then they are hands off, and then it's up to the association and people that live there to make that decision. And I think we definitely don't need a gated community within Manoa, because one of the things that I feel makes Manoa special is that we can walk anywhere. You know, I love that I grew up, my mother did not drive, so we walked all over Manoa. And that's something that made it very special because, you know, the homes in Manoa do not look exactly like every other home. And to me, that is something that made it special, as well as the access to, you know, all the trees and things like that. So I really also wanted to point out that when I was at the DPP meeting, it was shocking the way some people testified, the people that were for it. There were so many people that worked for Avalon, and then they would say, oh, I'm not testifying for Avalon, but they all worked for Avalon. So of course their paychecks come from Avalon. And so if the development goes through, that is in their benefit. So I don't see how that wasn't a conflict of interest, but it's because there was so many people from the community, and not even just people from the community. There was someone from Waianae that came all the way in to testify, a kupuna named Glenn Keela, Anakala Glenn Keela, and he testified. And then Sterling Higa, he's with the Housing Authority or something like that. He just like bashed all of the kupuna that were there. Time because you guys are retired and you guys are wearing your green shirts. That's called solidarity. That's called unity. That's called a collective, because we wanted to show, well, I wasn't wearing a green shirt, but I was still in solidarity with the opposition. So I just wanted to say, those of you that were there, mahalo for your strong voices. And I hope that someone's listening to us, because I feel like, unfortunately, we're not being listened to. Mahalo.
All right, we're about halfway through the meeting, so in order to make sure everyone's able to talk, I'm going to start calling time if people start going too over time. But do we have any other? Go ahead, Brett.
Now that we know that DPP's made decisions on 2 developments in Manoa, my concern is that each of these is considered separately but not together. In other words, if you approve two projects, right, that are going to be in a valley that has only two access roads, are they being evaluated together? What's the combined impact on traffic, et cetera? Or are they being combined as if one is considered in isolation of the other? Okay, so that to me begs a potential resolution topic from this neighborhood board, which has already done two on Mānoa Banyan Court. But I think it would be good to do one that combines Aria Lane's decision with Mānoa Banyan Court's decision to question DPP's, judgment on granting green light to both, because that is a significant impact. And even if you look at Senator Fukunaga's newsletter, and she cites in there, just from Mānoa Banyan Court alone, that DPP had said that it would increase the valley population by 1.2 to 1.8% based on the occupancy there. That's just that by itself. Now, if you add in this other gated community, well, that's even more. So that's, to me, a very significant percentage that should be considered together now that they've made their decisions. And so I would ask also Representative Nishimoto to ask those same questions to DPP, because I think, by doing them in isolation, that's not the impact that we're going to have, right? Anyway, I think it deserves a lot more scrutiny, and this board can help amplify that demand signal for the scrutiny. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brett.
Mānoa Road is already congested. Adding 158 households to the traffic on Mānoa Road should be a disaster. However, the traffic impact report says there would be no effect on traffic of this development. This report is based on studying 3 intersections, Pamoa Alaula, Pamoa Kolowalu, and Kolowalu East Mānoa. However, the research done at these intersections show that 2/3 of the cars coming from the east on Pamoa, that include Aria Lane, Hipawai, and Pamoa, will turn onto Alaua. They will not go on to Kolowalu. From Alaua, they will exit on Oahu at an intersection which is 40 yards from a university, one of the 2 main access roads for the valley, where the university dumps onto Oahu. It is an incredibly busy place.
You hear your cats running around upstairs.
When they realized
I can hear
the traffic
running around upstairs.
Oh, yeah. Well, Sashi knows to go in the app.
When they realized the traffic,
We have a hot mic. If you're on Zoom, please mute.
when they realized that most of the traffic was going to Honolulu.
Sorry, point of order real quickly. Just because, since we're in public over here, just say your name because we need, it's for the record as well. So if you have your name, please.
I'm Ron Brown. I live a couple hundred yards from here. When they realized that most of the traffic was going to Ala'ula, they did not then say they had to study the critical Ala'ula University Oahu intersection. They ignored it and focused entirely on the Kolowalu Oahu intersection, which has very little traffic because people who take that are staying in the valley. They're not going. But did they then say we have to study this critical intersection? No, they didn't. They just washed it under the rug. This is professional fraud.
All right, and I just want to see if for the record, because there have been situations where a neighborhood board, private parties for saying things. So it is the position of our neighborhood board is not accusing anyone of fraud, but if you have that opinion, they can say so. Do we have any other hands for this issue? Robert Fox on Zoom.
Thank you. I'm glad that there's a lot of public discussion about this. Even my slight reading of these reports from DPP are extraordinarily troubling. As one of the people who turned the DPP into the FBI, and then subsequent convictions of so many, I'm concerned that we keep the honor and integrity of the DPP and a lack of community involvement and discussion and consideration by DPP and the traffic mitigation is really disturbing to me. I don't think we need a resolution from the neighborhood board, but I hope that it goes back to the DPP that we are extraordinarily upset for a number of reasons. The combination of traffic is an appalling thought. I live on University too, right at Miley Way and University Avenue. And I'm part of the 4-lane street. It then changes to 2 lanes, and it's hell on earth 2 times a day, getting into the valley and out of the valley. It's a really, really long wait. The job of the DPP is not only to figure out building standards, but also the impact on the community. Sometimes you just can't add density. Density is not always a good thing. And I don't care if you bought the land. I'm a realtor, I buy land. It doesn't mean you get to build 200 units just because you own the land. The mitigating factors of the DPP that should be taken into consideration are, can our communities, with the given sewer systems, with the given water systems, with the electric systems, with the traffic systems, can we actually handle so much increased density in an established historic neighborhood? And I don't think that anybody has ever really called them out on that. And I think we have to at this point in time. I hope we'll get support of the neighborhood board to actually maybe write a letter to these folks and say, hey, you need to do an overall take on this thing. Is it something that we can actually handle? If we can't handle it in Mānoa, then go someplace else. Go someplace where they don't have thousands of homes already built with antiquated sewer lines. I'm just appalled by this entire operation that DPP has put forward. And it's like somebody needs to call them out.
Sorry, Robert, I got to cut you up for time.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. All right. Thank you, Member Fox. And I apologize from earlier. We are supposed to be asking people to identify themselves when they come to speak. So please do identify yourself when you come up. Councilor Fio?
I just wanted to kind of second Brad's and other people's comments that these 2 projects doesn't make any sense. You know, I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that they need to be looked at together. And so I don't know if, you know, DPP's procedures are set up for that, but we shouldn't have to go to court to get them to just use common sense. And last summer, they were doing a lot of survey work, and I run up to the Mānoa Cemetery regularly from St. Francis, and their Department of Construction survey and land acquisition was inside the Mānoa Cemetery the first time I saw them up there preparing to access it to survey Lower Road. They told me that they were just trying to figure out which trees belong to the city and which ones belong to the cemetery. And the next 2 times I saw them up there, they weren't parking inside the cemetery anymore. They were parking on the road and walking through. I also saw them surveying at Woodlawn and Woodlawn and Lowry, and at East Mānoa and Lowry around the same time. And I saw them at Kolowalu and East Mānoa Road. And each time I spoke with the survey crews, they were giving me explanations for their survey work that didn't make any sense. Almost like they had been given a cover story. So, you know, I think they were laying the survey groundwork for Mānoa Banyan Court. And I don't have proof, but that's just, you know, not acceptable for them to use our tax dollars if that's what they were doing. And I did talk to the deputy director of the department who had just been promoted. He's now the deputy director for DPP. And he said, he just speculated as if he had no idea what any of these
Sorry,
surveys
I
were
gotta
about.
catch you up for time. If you can just wrap up real
Okay,
quick.
so I just want to say I grew up on University Avenue. I only found out recently that it's only 20 feet wide. And we can't widen University Avenue. I don't want Governor Green declaring an emergency because these two projects turn our valley into a disaster area. And we need to do something to keep that from happening.
All right, thank you, Ellen. Do we have any other people who want to make comments or questions about either Project Banyan Court or Aria Lane? Still, please raise your hand. Oh, who's online? Call on whoever that person is.
Hi, hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Dana Sanaha. I'm a resident on Pamoa Road. I only had a chance to quickly look over the documents today, when they were emailed out, but, I appreciate what Mr. Fox had to say about, I understand that when you buy property, you do have a right to develop on it, but you don't necessarily have the right to do anything you want with it. And when I was looking over the documents, it seems like the traffic study they did was done in July, if I read it correctly, which means schools weren't even in session at that time. So it wasn't really an adequate measurement of what real traffic is like at peak times during the year. And like many others, I'm going to echo that on Pamoa Road, getting in and out is very, very difficult at most times of day, not just when kids are going to, at school times. But another thing that I did notice too is that they're building all of these parking spaces for their residents in this community. And one of the things that I noted was that a mention of they're removing all street parking on Pamoa Road to allow for more traffic. So while I respect the developers' rights to develop on their property, I don't really respect the fact that they are going to be taking away our parking spaces in order to do so. And so it seems like, they're billing this as affordable housing for Hawaii's people, but they're not really affordable, and that it's going to be good for our community, but they seem to be taking from our community to create this development. And the only people who are going to
Sorry,
benefit
Dan, I got
are
to
the
jump in for
residents.
time. If you can just wrap up
Okay.
real quick.
That's all. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Dana. There's someone named Dave. It's not me, it's some other Dave online. Please go ahead. We're, all right, says, I have a question. We're hearing all the concerned citizens. What are the board's thoughts and what are they going to do about it? So we did talk about, I'll just try and answer this. So we talked about last meeting, testifying at any hearings that go forward for the proceedings on the Manoa Banyan Court. And I, as chair, can send a testimony on behalf of the board for any Manoa Banyan Court related committee hearings or anything for that approval process. I'll just ask Ted and other Aria Lane people. Would it be helpful for the Manoa Neighborhood Board to send in testimony?
Absolutely.
That's we can do that for those hearings.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very political process. So the more noise that's made, the better off we are.
All right. In that case, I'll just really quickly ask, similar to last month when we talked about Manoa Banyan Court, does anyone on the board have a problem with me sending in testimony on behalf of our board opposing the Aria Lane project to any legal hearings or proceedings that the Aria Lane project has.
Just a comment, Mr. Chair, this board has already passed a resolution opposing that project. So we've kind of shot our bolt on that one, I think. You want to say to someone else that matches a motion that we already passed, I think you're empowered to do so.
All right, thank you, Member Moylan. And yep, since we passed a resolution that was pretty clearly against the project, just let me know when the hearing comes up or the proceeding comes up and I'll send in. Oh, Howard.
My name is Howard Luke. I'm involved in some of the evaluation of our legal recourse with respect to Aria Lane. I've already been in touch with several attorneys who are all friends of mine and who are involved in land use. Looking at the decision, it's pretty clear, and you're correct, Mr. Moylan. It was mentioned in the decision from DPP that they received the Mānoa Neighborhood Board's opposition to the building of Aria Lane, but that was it. It was a passing reference like, okay, here's a little check mark next to it, with no other further discussion. I don't want to be out of bounds on this, but we are very, very pessimistic about prevailing before the zoning board appeals process. We are preparing for that. There's nothing more I would like than to be wrong about that. But parenthetically, my law office was called when the FBI was investigating a lot of DPP personnel, and I declined every one of those individuals who contacted me. But I'm not saying that DPP has the same problem or it has been resolved. What I'm saying is that the confidence we have has been, compromised by the past history of DPP. What we expect to do is put on our best case that we can before the Administrative Appeals Board, which is a zoning branch, and then we think we must be ready to file a lawsuit in circuit court. I will also say that if anybody ever has any questions, and because of lack of time, please feel free to call. I'd be happy to talk to anybody for any reasonable length of time about the history. There's so many things to talk about. I want to say that once again, reverting back to the vote, the long discussion we had, an ultimate vote of the board to oppose the development, we really appreciate it. We need as much help as we can get. And I think you made your decision on the most recent and comprehensive information you received. There will be more. We'll be back. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Howard. Do we have any other raised hands, any questions or comments for Aria Lane or Mānoa Banning Court? So yeah, I'm not personally tracking those two proceedings, but I'm in touch with people from both the MBC opposition group and the Aria Lane opposition group, so they can just text me or email me when a hearing comes up or proceeding comes up, and I'll put in written testimony on behalf of the board. All right. So since we have no other raised hands for the DPP decisions, we're moving on to Roman numeral 6, board business. So this is item A, open forum to discuss legislation, make suggestions or requests to our area lawmakers. Do we have anyone who wants to comment on this? Going once, going twice. Okay, no raised hands. So going next to B. So this is from Member Fukumoto's request. Noelani Elementary School and Manoa Elementary School were listed as among the best elementary schools in Hawaii recently. And this may include a motion to send these schools a congratulatory letter. So at this time, I'm going to give the floor to Member Fukumoto to explain.
Thank you, Chair. Sometimes these newsletters actually do come in handy. And I'm reading really from Representative Andrew Garrett's newsletter, in which the headline is "Congratulations to Noelani and Mānoa Elementary Schools." And the text is, "Kudos to the Noelani Elementary School, number 3, and the Mānoa Elementary School, number 5, communities for being named among the best elementary schools in Hawaii by U.S. News and World Report. This prestigious honor reflects the leadership of Principals Guzman and Okamoto, the dedication and passion of their educators, the hard work of their students, and the invaluable support of the parents that make up the PTAs of each school. Keep up the fantastic work. Given that both of the elementary schools in Mānoa have been recognized, I think the very least this board can do is to write congratulatory letters to both of these schools. And like children, we love them equally well. And they did very well, so we should both write them a letter. I'm willing to work with the chair to send these letters to the school. And I think the board should just vote on that. Thank you.
All right, and I'll just say real quick, I'm willing to work with Member Fukumoto to draft those letters.
Do we need a vote?
I'll make a motion.
Oh, yes, I would like to make a motion for the board to send congratulatory letters to Noelani and Manoa Elementary Schools.
Do we have a second? All right, made by Fukumoto, second by Member Bosel to send congratulatory letters on behalf of our board to Noah Elementary School and Iwalani Elementary School. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Any opposition to it? All right, seeing, hearing none, it passes by general consent. So, yep, Member Fukumoto, you and I can follow up outside of meeting and get it written up and sent. All right, moving to our next item, filling of vacancies. So we still have 3 vacancies for Subdistrict 4. Do we have anyone at the meeting tonight who is interested in filling a Subdistrict 4 vacancy? So announce yourself. Member Moylan?
Question, Mr. Chair. If I understand what you have under Roman numeral 9, it sounds like there will really be only 1 vacancy starting in the summer, right? So are these vacancies that you're talking about
No.
only for the next few months?
Yeah, these are just vacancies for the remainder of the current term, which is the next 3 or 4 months.
Thank you.
All right, any takers? All right, not hearing or seeing any, so let's move on to approval of the Wednesday, February 5th, 2025 meeting minutes. Any discussion, any motions? We have a second? Second. All right, motion from Member Zane, second from Member DeMarco to approve the February 5th, 2025 meeting minutes. Do we have any discussion? Any opposition? All right, seeing, hearing no opposition, the meeting minutes are approved by general consent. Next, we're going to update on the primary urban center development plan. Do we have any report on this from any board members?
I don't have a report unless anybody from Council Member Nishimoto's office can speak as to when that is going up for the city council vote. Sorry to keep running.
Thank you. Well, let me first say it's a little difficult for us because we're coming into this process more than halfway through. But we are analyzing the plan and it is set to come up in committee early April. Early April, right? April 3rd, maybe or so, somewhere around there. Planning committee. But we are working on it. We are analyzing what it does for our entire district. Initial analysis is that it doesn't change from Mānoa very much. But not a whole lot. Like I said, we're coming in pretty late in the process.
I'll just update you that whenever we were discussing it as a board and getting updates from the last 2 years, we were always, letting the community know that there weren't very many changes in the community. Was whoever spoke regarding it was in support of the general plan.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a deadline of around mid-March to get amendments in. So we're working on it. Yeah.
All right, any further discussion on the primary urban center development plan? All right, moving next to item F, all flood mitigation. Member Fukumoto, any report or update?
No real update except that the Army Corps continues to work on preparing the release of its environmental impact statement. And they are working on it, and it's likely to be released soon. Chair, I believe last time you tried to get a hold of the Army Corps to see if they would come in. I was not very optimistic that they would come in, and I believe you haven't heard from them. So the Army Corps really is keeping mum on when they're going to release this. But it will be released soon. And then we'll have, it's somewhat unclear what is going to happen after that, because there is a local sponsor, meaning probably the city would have to come before the city council and to try to get funding for the local sponsor's share. And the other aspect of that is that there would have to be routine maintenance funding that would also have to be approved. But all of this is in the future, so we'll wait for the Army Corps to release its report, and then we'll go from there. But all of these projects are interrelated. This project is interrelated with the sewers, with the Banyan Court project, and with the bridge over the Alawa, and they're all really part of. All of these projects are related, so we have to keep an eye on them all. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you, Member Okamoto. One thing that I want to know real quick is that Member Moylan's Proactive Solutions Committee didn't meet. I believe it was about a week ago. I did not put it on the agenda. That was an oversight of mine, unfortunately. And we can't add it to the agenda because we only have 11 members, not 12. So I apologize for that, Member Moylan, but I'll put it on the agenda for starting next month, so you'll be able to get yourself on what the committee talked about last week.
Hopefully, the whole point of having a committee is that by the time it comes up to this board, we've honed stuff down and we have something, current, rather than sitting around brainstorming, which is like what we do in the committee.
Right, and yeah, it was just brainstorming last week. There weren't any decisions made. So Member Moylan can report on last week's meeting plus the meeting in March or this month for his committee at our April meeting. Okay, moving on to Roman numeral 7, we have a presentation regarding sewer fee increases from the Honolulu Department of Environmental Services. Please go ahead.
Okay, well, good evening. Good evening, Chair and board members and members of the community. My name is Roger Babcock. I'm Director of the Department of Environmental Services, and we take care of sewage and refuse for the city. So that's sanitation. We basically take care of all sanitation for the city. And so I'm here today to talk about our proposed increases in the sewer fees. But first of all, I just want to mention that the sewer enterprise, like the Board of Water Supply, is a fee-funded enterprise. So it's separate from the general fund and the general obligation bonds that the city issues to fund every other part of the city. Public safety, police, fire, parks, everything else, every other department except for water and wastewater are funded by the general fund, by real property tax, by your taxes. Refuse, solid waste is funded by property taxes, but sewer is not. Sewer is a separate fund. And like the Board of Water Supply, sewer, we issue our own debt separately. We issue sewer bonds to fund our capital projects, our construction projects. Our operation and maintenance and also our debt service is funded exclusively by sewer fees. So sewer fees, what that means is that sewer fees need to provide all of the revenue requirements to run, the divisions associated with sewer. And the sewer enterprise, that takes about 800 people to run sewers for the county. I have another 400 people that work in refuse. So it entails 2,100 miles of sewer pipes, 71 wastewater pump stations, 9 wastewater treatment plants, and we treat an average of 100 million gallons of sewage a day for the whole, all combined. The sewage from Mānoa, from your neighborhood, goes to the Sand Island wastewater treatment plant out on Sand Island, across from Matson and Pasha. And so it has to travel there, it gets pumped and stuff to get there. So you may not know it, but the sewer, your sewer bill, so your sewer bill looks like this. This is my sewer bill. It has your board of water supply bill on the left side, and it has your sewer bill on the right side. And my sewer bill, the example here was my water bill was $49.41, and my sewer bill was $100.70. So the sewer bill is about twice as big as the water bill, because we have to treat sewage and we have to dispose of it, and we have to transport it all around and stuff like that. So it's a much more expensive operation than water. What you may not realize is that the last time the sewer fees increased was on July 1st of 2016. So it's been quite a while, and the department's been able to sustain operations despite lots of inflation that we've all experienced. So the cost of everything that we use and need, including electricity and fuel and all other commodities that we have to purchase to do operations, and all the people we have, has increased. And so we can't wait any longer to increase sewer fees. And so I'll mention that in addition to the peace of mind that you have that you can use the toilet or take a shower or wash your clothes or your dishes, and it's going to go down the drain and it's going to disappear. But that's when the magic starts for us. We have a lot of work to do. It takes a lot to do that. The changing requirements and regulations that we have to keep up with. And the other thing is we need to repair, rehabilitate, and modernize and upgrade our aging infrastructure. So some sewer pipes are 100 years old, just like water supply, and some things are not quite that old, but too old, need to be modernized. There's more efficient equipment and stuff available, and we always when we upgrade things or replace things, we always put newer technology that will last longer and works more efficiently, meaning mostly using less electricity and requiring less maintenance. So the reason the sewer fees have to go up are, like I mentioned, we have increasing costs, and we have more projects that we have to do. So I mentioned Sand Island Treatment Plant. In 2010, the city entered into a legal settlement with in federal court with the Department of Justice, the US EPA, the State Department of Health, and 3 non-governmental organizations, environmental groups that had sued the city. There were lots of violations and orders against the city, including, you might remember, the sewage spill into the Alawai Canal from Waikiki. And so those things all culminated into a settlement that the city entered into in 2010, which prescribed a lot of work that needed to be done over a 25-year period. So we're 15 years into that period, and we have 10 years left. We just have one project left to finish associated with that consent decree, and that's the full secondary upgrade of the Sand Island wastewater treatment plant. And that project is underway now. It has begun. And it is broken up into 2 phases. And phase 1 is about 60% complete. Phase 2 is in design. It's going to be finished design and bid for construction in 2028, which is really soon, and start construction in 2029 in order to be operational on time and not be subject to daily fines of not finishing that court-ordered project on time. So that's contributes partly to the need to raise sewer fees. I want to point out that that project is a large project. It's a $2.5 billion project. The part that remains is 1.8 billion. The other part is phase one that's underway. But that is less than 20% of our entire capital program for the time period, which is $10 billion of projects that are needed to keep up with regulations, modernize infrastructure, and avoid sewer spills and the things that got us into the that got the city into the place they were in 2010 to avoid another consent decree. So what does that mean? We have proposed sewer fee increases of 9% per year. We proposed a 10-year rate package, 9% per year in the first 6 years, and then 8, 7, 6, and 5% in the years out to year 10. The 10 years gets you to 2035 and the completion of the consent decree. The consent decree reset the table. It erased all the lawsuits and all the violations and all the administrative orders that the city was under to complete. And so all those things will be done when we start off with everything in compliance, meeting all requirements. So obviously we need to maintain that, keep things in good working order in order to avoid future similar situations. But anyway, that's why we chose the 10 years. Then you don't have to go back again in 5 years. A lot of times it's 5 years, and then evaluate again. We know what we need for this period, so we're proposing the entire 10 years. Overall, over the time period, it does add up to 115% cumulative. But I want to point out the second handout, and I'm sorry, for the people that are here, there are some other handouts there on the table. All this information is available on our website, honolulu.gov/ENV. And it's on the banner right on the top, the link to the page with all the information on the sewer fees, as well as the sample bills. So the second handout that I give you is sample bills, what the bills will actually be. And so I want to point out that the sewer bill consists of two parts, and it is itemized on your bill. There's a base charge that doesn't change every month, base charge for just being connected, and then a volumetric charge, which is how much, based on how much water you use. The board water supply bill is basically almost 100% based on water use because it's water. And the base charge is really just the billing fee. It's very small, $15 or something. Our base charge is $77.55. And again, that's been since July 1 of 2016. The volumetric charge is $4.63 per 1,000 gallons. Irrespective of how many thousands of gallons you use, it's the same rate per 1,000 gallons. For water supply, the rate increases based on more water that you use. So more water use is penalized in order to incentivize water conservation. So what we'll do is we will be increasing the base charge and the volumetric charge. The volumetric charge will stay uniform, but the number will get bigger, and the base charge also will get bigger. And so that's how we would increase the fees. I wanted to just point out a couple of things. We're adding we're modifying the percentage of the base charge of the total charge. Currently, I mentioned $77.55, $4.63 per 1,000 gallons. And the average bill is about $100 a month. So 75% of your bill is a base charge and only about 30% is volumetric. So we're going to be changing that proportion so that the base charge will only be about 50% of your bill and the volumetric will be much bigger, 50%. So what that means is it incentivizes water conservation, using less water, and using less water has a bigger impact on your bill. Right now, if you save 1,000 gallons, you only save $4.63 if you use 1,000 gallons less water, which is a lot. It's about a fifth of the average water use. So so that's considered for equity and affordability. And we also we've proposed, we would implement a customer assistance program, which is for low-income customers, and to qualify, be 80% of the area median income or less. You qualify for a reduction of the base charge of $20 to $25 per month. So that's the main things. Finally, just if you allow me one more minute, sample bills shows you the effect of how much water used has on your sewer bill. So the chart shows the current rate, which shows us 2024, and then 2025, which is July 1st of this year, is proposed. It shows you the fixed rates and the volumetric rates for each year of the 10 years out. And then the thing across the top of the rest of that thing is how many gallons of water you use per month. So 2,000 gallons per month is a low water user, maybe a couple living in a house. 10% of customers use that amount of water or less. Another number on there is 6,000 gallons per month. That's the median water user. That means 50% use that amount or less, and 50% use more. Another number that's highlighted on there is 9,000 gallons a month, which is 70% of people use that amount or less, and 30% use more. And way at the other end of the scale is 30,000 gallons per month, 15 times as much as a low water user. 2% of people use that amount of water, okay, single family residents. So those people pay a lot for water now, but in the future, they're going to pay a lot more if they don't use less water. And that's intentional. That was, we had a stakeholder advisory group. We advised on the customer assistance program, the way the bills are laid out, and wanted to mirror more the way the Board of Water Supply is, valuing water and valuing water conservation. And so you can choose not to do water conservation, but it'll cost you a lot more. But I did want to point out that how low water users, their bill doesn't change very much. It's $84.96 now. Next year it would be $87.65, so about $2 more. Next year it increases another $2, per year. It's not very much. When you're up at the median, it's going up about $8 a month each year. And then when you get up higher, they're larger amounts. And so the cumulative, I mentioned 115%, that's the average. For the low water usage, it's only 70% over the 10 years. For the 6,000, the median, it's about 100%, 104%. So it does matter how much water you use, and that's intentional to kind of switch it so that it values water more and allows people to conserve and control their bill to a much greater extent than they can today. And so I'd be happy to answer any questions at this point, and I appreciate you giving me the time to talk here tonight.
Thanks for the presentation, and thanks for staying till almost the end. We have about 50 minutes left, so we can do a few minutes of questions. Member Moylan.
Okay. If you ask most citizens that in the event of a libertarian takeover and most of the government departments were eliminated, what one department would you want to keep? The most common answer is, I want public safety. I want to keep police and fire. But I always said, I'd keep public works. I'll take my chances about a home invasion robbery. But when I flush that toilet, as you point out, it's got to go away. I'm astounded to find that these fees have not changed in 9 years. I hope that doesn't mean that your 800 employees haven't gotten a raise in 9 years or anything like that. But I do want to ask, in a lot of cases where there's a very expensive piece of infrastructure, like a water pollution control plant, the analogous thing that you see some cities do, and you also see a lot of homeowners associations do, and they're required to do it by law in some places, which is, let's imagine that the association is in charge of all the roofs, and the roofs are 50-year roofs. They're not allowed to spend zero on roofs until all of a sudden all the roofs come due, and then you have this colossal bill. They're required to put money into reserves, so when the 50 years go by and they need all new roofs, the money's there. How come, since you've, a new water pollution control plant's in the billions of dollars, wouldn't it make sense to just be kind of constantly out of sewer fees, putting some money in reserve so that when that plant has to go 50 years down the line, you're ready for it?
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. So I think there's various reasons why sewer fees don't get raised. It does require, it's a political process. It does require going to city council. This administration, we really can't say what happened before. When we came into office in 2021, January 2021, it was COVID. And there was COVID kind of for a while and recovery. And so there was no appetite for raising fees. The proposal would have been dead on arrival. It's still a challenge. There's still quite a bit of pushback about whether it's affordable. But yeah, that's kind of why. It does make more sense to raise at least, say, 3% per year, just kind of keep up with inflation. And some places do that, including Maui. Maui raised every year 2 to 3%, no matter what, throughout COVID as well. So it's expected. It is unfortunate because people can get used to zero very easily, increase, but they can also get used to 2% increase. It's just expected, right? So that is our recommendation. What some utilities have done, and we've recommended on the mainland, is they give the agency the ability to raise it as much as inflation on an annual basis without having to go back to council. And only if they need more than that do they go back to, and amend the law. So that would make sense. But right now we don't have that. And we have this, and we have everything planned out for what we need. And we've arranged, we're doing some of what you're saying in the sense that we're getting a little more money in the first couple of years than what we actually need in order to avoid higher increases in 29 and 30 when we really need the money. But I did also want to point out that the large construction projects are all debt financed. So it's like a mortgage. We sell bonds. They're for 30 years, and all we pay is principal and interest for the 30 years. We do not generate that $10 billion in cash from sewer fees. The sewer fees would go up, like I said, about not even, it's actually not even 100% overall, but it is about that much over the full 10-year period.
Okay, and I just want to make sure I understood you correctly, that this aspect of government services.
Sorry, I got to start for time. Anson's just informed me that they don't want us to adjourn by 8:30. They want us out the door by 8:30. So we got to move forward with the agenda. But super fast.
Can you speak really quickly to whether the stormwater utility tax, where that is that completely dead? Is that something that would also go to ENV as well? And if that is still potentially going forward, is that something that could also be funding your?
Yeah, thanks. So stormwater fee right now is on hold, and it's currently in a different department. Facility maintenance is where stormwater is. But so far it hasn't been proposed to council, and it's not clear when that'll happen.
Okay. And sorry, Member Moylan, you can send your question via email to Anson, and he can forward it to the city to get clarification on your follow-up. But we do have to move forward since our hosts do want us out by 8:30. So going to community concerns, we have the Mānoa Valley District Park Pool area. People are still checking in on that. Last we were told is that it's going to be approved or finished with repairs in spring of this year. So I'm not sure if we have any report on that, but we don't really have time to get into it. We just got to jump into announcements. So announcements, neighborhood ward elections for the 2025-2027 term have finished. Voting begins in April 2025 this year, and voting will end on May 16th of this year. Basically, the subdistrict 1 is going to have a competitive election because they have 5 candidates running for 3 available seats. Subdistricts 2, 3, and 4 have no competitive election because they don't have enough people running for there to be a need to vote on them. Our next meeting, next regular board meeting will be held on April 2nd, 2025. It'll be held in person here at Noelani Elementary School Cafeteria, 2655 Woodlawn Drive. And it will also be held online via WebEx using the same link, again, starting at 6:30. There will also be an Olelo rebroadcast you can watch on the 2nd and 4th Saturdays of the month at 3 p.m. or every 3rd Tuesday at 9 p.m. or online on the Olelo website or on the Honolulu City Digital Archives. Do we have any final super quick comments before we adjourn?
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, please.
While he's walking up, I'd just like to make a quick announcement, which is if people want to keep this as a location for in-person meetings, I think we have to be aware that people in the past have complained, neighbors to the area, about conversations loudly taking place afterwards, and that's sort of a condition of maintaining this approval for this location. So just FYI, be respectful of the houses around here.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Wes Orang. I am the president of Be Ready Manoa. We just have a quick announcement where on March 15th at the Manoa Valley Church, we are sponsoring a round robin exercise in preparation for the hurricane season that's coming up on June 1st. And so we invite anybody from the, Manoa community to come join us for this round robin training. We have sessions like medical triage, search and rescue, preparing for disasters, and one more topic that I just can't remember right now. But there are 4 different stations that we're going to be having at the Manoa Valley Church. We're going to serve light refreshments. And then following the training, which I'm sorry, it's March 15th, Saturday from 8 to 12. We're going to break for lunch, and then we're going to have a 1-hour Manoa Coconut Wireless Communications training. Glenn Otaguro here, he's our lead for our communications. He will be conducting a training session where we have free radios for anybody who lives in the Manoa community, that if you attend the training, we'll give you the radio. And you just have to participate in monthly communication practices. So please join us on Saturday, the 15th. If anybody's interested, sign up at info@bereadymanoa.org, or just check out our website, and then you'll get all of the information on our website, bereadymanoa.org. Thank you very much.
I have my announcement is that the neighborhood boards are doing a food bank in April. So if you have any extra canned goods, please bring it into the next Manoa meeting and I'll pick it up.
All right, thank you for those last minute announcements. Is 8:22. Thank you everyone for coming out. Thank you, Lloyd, for approving our movement to Noelani for coming out as well. And we are adjourned.